What's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Schneid. It is Sunday evening. We're going to be ripping a couple drafts, talking about ADP, just settling, essentially, is where we're at right now before the schedule drops. Schedule drops in 10 days. So that'll be good. A week from, I believe, Wednesday, we'll have an episode with a bunch of guests on talking about that when the time comes. But right now, I don't honestly particularly see a lot of movement as far as ADP. There's just like no catalyst for movement. I have been seeing Joe Burrow slide recently, which is encouraging. I would like to see his ADP fall. And then you can hopefully end up with, what is that, 6-7 turn, pick 72, 73 if you're in the one spot. And then stack them up with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, that sort of thing. At least opening that door where it's possible and more likely. I'm seeing it more and more. So it feels like he might be falling, but we'll kind of go through that a little bit. Chris Candyman, Fantasy Football Garage, what's happening, man? Good to see you. Appreciate you having me on the other night. That was fun. That was a good time, good stream. 4-hour episode. Go check that out. So make sure you subscribe to Candyman over there. Let's just jump into a couple. We're going to rip a couple puppy drafts tonight. We're still sticking to the puppies. I've been doing weekly winners a fair amount because it doesn't really matter as far as bye weeks and schedules, in my opinion. At least not for the ones that I'm drafting right now, clearly. But I am doing some weekly winners. We won't do that tonight. The Schnauzers, I'm trying to push until the schedule is dropped. It might get there. Like 20 max entries is actually kind of sweet, and it'll limit that filling at least exceptionally quickly. So I'm going to keep pushing the Schnauzers, and we'll see if it hangs on. Same thing with the Eliminator. I'm not drafting that until the schedules drop, but I will be ripping a few of those. And then certainly BBM, I'm waiting on those. Marathon Sprint. But let's jump into a puppy. We're going to do 30-second pick. So if you're in the chat, you want to draft, jump in, waiting on 3. Not a lot left. Yeah, show's definitely a lot of fun. Gets a little haywire when all the boys are on, that's for sure. Putt Daddy, what's happening? Good to see you, man. Billy Jones, appreciate you coming in. Good to see you, brother. GM, Omega King, thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button if you're just popping in. Hit the subscribe button if you're new by any chance. And we'll be ripping drafts all summer. Can't wait for the schedule to drop. Give us a little more clarity. Give us a little more information. And that's really all we need is kind of all the information. We're at a 30-second clock if you want to jump it into this puppy. Not a 20-second. We got a 30-second clock. I did one eliminator, got Genty. Amon-Ra St. Brown might be done. Wow. Yeah, that's a nice start. That's a really nice start. That must have been the 12, 1-2 turn, 12, 13. Must have been. Seven. The 7 spot. MLB Syndicate's in here. I think that might be it. If you're in the chat and in the draft, let me know. A lot of badge lists, which I like to see. I wonder if they're either new users potentially or just not super volume drafters, which is fine. MLB Syndicate in the 6. MLB Syndicate, I think, is Jamie something, right? I believe. If you're in the chat, let me know. I think it's Jamie. Yeah, 1-2 turn, I'm assuming. Fantasy Bones. Some interesting names. We'll see how this goes. Let's see how the badge lists do. Hopefully everybody's in. Steve, what's happening, man? Good to see you. Hopefully nothing crazy happens in these badgeless drafts. Nothing outrageous. We'll see how she goes. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I just want to see what the ADPs are doing. Get some reps in. Is really what we're doing. Had a crazy busy weekend. Doing house stuff. Fixing up the house a little bit, yard work, all that kind of stuff. Busy. I'm exhausted. I'm not going to lie. But we're here. We're drafting. Got to put out the content for the peeps. Emo Cowboy, how you doing, brother? Good. Thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you coming in. Yeah, I just want to keep an eye on ADPs, where they're going, what's going on. I do have to finish my rankings again, which I'd really like to do before the schedule gets dropped for sure. I got to take some time out and put some work into the rankings and get up to like 220, 225, something like that. And then I'm probably, no matter what happens, I'm going to stick to those rankings for at least like, I don't know, the first, call it month, maybe at least till training camp. Like there's no reason to change any priors as we sit right now. Obviously, when the schedule comes out, maybe that'll move some things around as far as like matchups and would I take a guy here or not because of a bring back situation, whatever. But I really want to keep those rankings intact until, again, probably training camp. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I don't want to change them too much is what I'm getting at. I don't want to change my rankings because of ADP movement. Like you can toggle back and forth and you can see your rankings versus ADP and you can get your exposures and you can take it from there. I really don't want to move them around just because they're moving ADP wise. Like Ashton Genty, I'm getting to the point where I might not take him very much. Like I do want to get a few shares, but I'm really not going to force it in. And if he rises up above Puka, like being above Neighbors for me is a little aggressive. Let's get Puka here. It's either Puka or Neighbors. I'm not putting Genty above Puka, Neighbors, Amon-Ra. I just can't. I'll put Genty above Brian Thomas though. But we'll take it from there. I do have to, again, I got to get my rankings done and then I'm going to be done with them. I'm not going to change them at least for like the first month or so. Until we get some coach speak, until we get some like training camp news. There's got to be just more to the story to change the rankings beyond just ADP movement. That's how I feel about it. And then we'll take it from there. So like I said, Genty's going to be a tough click if he keeps rising. I just, the way I'm building, again, like I said in the past few episodes that I've done so far in Hot Best Ball Summer, I'm going to be doing a lot of hero RB, dual RB, zero RB, builds like that, where it's pretty tough to take Genty as your anchor, at least in my opinion, at 8th overall or whatever we're doing. So we'll see. We'll see. I might have a hard time clicking him as he keeps rising. If he gets ahead of Puka, he's already ahead of Neighbors. That's madness to me. Even Amon-Ra, that's a little aggressive for me. But we'll see where it lands. First, you mean? I think you mean first, not second. He's obviously comfortably in the second already. Making it in the first. I don't think so. But maybe. I mean, who does he have to get ahead of? Brian Thomas? Yeah. I mean, that would pretty much be it. So I guess it's possible he ends up with like I think he's at what, 12.9. Okay, so technically he is a first round pick right now, actually. Technically. So he's already made it in the first comfortably. Yeah, probably, because he probably does get ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. in my kind of guesstimation. Let's do Puka Trey for a little NFC West correlation. Intriguing, but injury risk. I mean, I'm less concerned about CMC since recently. Just some kind of injury news about that whole situation. I'm less concerned. I'm probably going to be taking a little more Christian McCaffrey. As long as if he's a second round pick, absolutely. If he starts creeping up into the first, I still probably will. I mean, being a 1-2 turn guy, like is going to hover between, let's say, 11 and 14 until we get the schedule drop at least, right? But I'm less concerned about the injury situation. And I think they're going to lean on him this year. They really should. Their offense is not necessarily in shambles, but it's definitely a little I don't know, in flux, I guess we could say, about the San Francisco 49ers offense. So getting some stability with CMC coming back and being that high volume touch guy, I think that we could definitely see that coming, especially with him getting older, the contract situation getting a little more murky. They could just kind of rocket to the wheels fall off and then go that route with CMC. They're always willing and happy to bring in running backs in the draft. So, yeah, I'm not too worried actually. Like the new German Cavs, he got some like stem cell stuff. That's what's kind of pushed me back into the CMC is he got the same sort of I don't want to call it procedure, but he got the same attention, we'll call it, that George Kittle did. Because George Kittle, I don't know if you remember, back not that long ago, he was like often injured. He was kind of a little bit of an injury red flag when he was a little bit younger. And then he went and got this stem cell thing done. Yeah, in Germany or somewhere in Europe. I can't remember exactly. But Christian McCaffrey had the exact same thing done. So that's encouraging to me. And like some of the doctors speak, yeah, they're Twitter doctors, but they're still doctors and they know more than me. But some of the Twitter doctors speak has been encouraging on CMC. So I'm pretty in. We'll see how much I end up with. German super soldiers formula stuff, definitely. Kobe 2, I believe. Not sure what that means. Bindles, what's happening, man? Appreciate you. Thanks for coming in, brother. Good to see you. Who do we got falling to us? Chase Brown. This is a little too high for me personally. Hmm. Let's do it would have been Devontae. Do I want to take Chase Brown here? Not particularly. Let's do Rashee Rice. Got some positive news today. Took CMC at 10 and then Bowers in the second. I don't mind that. Like, not necessarily a gamble. I don't mind that at all. Like, that's relatively unique for the most part. There's not a lot of drafters taking that combination. So I don't mind that at all. That might be like something I definitely do in BBM after the schedule's dropped and we know bye weeks, we know matchups and everything like that. I don't mind to start like that. It gets a little hairy. I mean, you have to catch up at wide receiver after that, especially again with the way I'm drafting. But if you do at the 1-2 turn, then you're down here and you take like a DJ Moore, Xavier Worthy, Travis Hunter, Tet, Devontae, some of these other ancillary guys down here. You can make it work, but you'd really have to catch up at wide receiver. That's for sure. Disbanded. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, I've kind of thought of that too with like, doing like maybe Drake London and McCaffrey, Drake London Bowers, something like that, where you take, or Drake London Ladd even isn't a bad combination. Stuff like that at the turn where you're getting relatively unique combos there. Lamar and Jaden Daniel. I don't know about that. I don't love that personally, but it can work. It's just really difficult to land that plane. Xavier Worthy would have been cool to fall back to me, but I was definitely not expecting that, which is fine. Got a lot of options here. A lot of options. JD, I think I know. I just don't know who it is. But I think I've definitely drafted with JD a fair amount. Goes Tet. I might have taken Tet there. I think this is too high for Travis Hunter. Not that my rank is going to be 63, but I think this is too high. Let's go. I don't really love this spot that we found ourselves in. Let's do Jameson Williams. A little bit of a pull up, but that's fine. Yeah, I think I might have a plan, but we'll see. Hurts, Gibbs, AJ Brown. I can't believe Gibbs is falling either. That's the crazy thing. Gibbs seems to be falling to 6. I'm going to have a lot of Gibbs. Same with like CD was falling in the big board, and you would typically get CD at pick 6. So I ended up with about 20% roughly CD Lamb. I'll do the same with Gibbs. I think Gibbs definitely has outs to being RB1 this year. So I'll be drafting Gibbs more than Bijan personally, and definitely more than Barkley. So I'll take Gibbs as high as 2. And if I can get him at 6, I'll take him every single time, obviously. If he's there at 5, I'll take him every single time. We'll see where it lands. But I seem to be much higher on Gibbs than most, which is kind of wild. Burrow goes to the T. Higgins drafter. Who do I think might sign Dobbins? Well, technically, J.K. Dobbins is still on the Chargers. I don't think it'll be the Bears. Someone basically, how does this work? It's the unrestricted free agent tender. I can't remember how that works. Basically, I think it's first right to match, I think is what the Chargers get. And if no one offers him a contract, then he plays under that tender if he signs it, which I'm sure he would, which is I think like 3.5 million or 3 point something million is what Dobbins would play under if no one else offers him a contract, which might not happen at all. So he might end up being like a third string for the Chargers. Hard to understand for me. Yeah, it's a weird situation. It doesn't happen too often from my knowledge of these tenders. Definitely doesn't happen too often. Usually it's a restricted free agent tender that happens a lot more. I'm not extremely familiar, if I'm being honest with you. I'm not extremely familiar, but I think it's just first right to match. So we'll see if anybody offers him a contract. Ridley's still there. Let's go Ridley. If he's still going to be there, let's do that. I'd like to get just enough shares of Ridley, and he might fly up the board a little bit, or at least rise. So let's do that. So either way, technically, yeah, J.K. Dobbins is still on the Chargers technically, and he probably will end up being on the Chargers, which is not a good spot to be. Third string, hard to even call him like a change of pace guy because, yeah. If he's on the Chargers, he's zero value. I'm not drafting J.K. Dobbins at all, personally. Not at all. I don't know what we're going to see for movement. Like that's another interesting conversation. Are we going to see any player movement? Like Keenan Allen's still out there, obviously. I would like my Bengals to sign Keenan Allen. I've been saying it for months. We'll see if that happens. There's been some talk about tight ends, Goddard, Andrews. I don't see Andrews going anywhere anymore. I never really did, to be honest with you. And now with the coach speak, I think we're kind of fine. I think we're out of the woods, out of the water as far as the Mark Andrews trade rumors are concerned. But we'll see where that kind of lands. Romeo Dobbs on the Packers. We'll see if he ends up playing for the Packers, if he's on this team this year, which I'm not so sure happens. I think he's a definite cut candidate straight up. I guess trade candidate, but most likely he just gets cut is what I would assume. Judy. Some interesting fallers here. Adunze, he's falling, which is wild to me, but people the shiny new toy in Luther Burden. I'm not so sure how. I mean, we talked about it. I can't remember what show we were on, but PPR Tyler and I were kind of, talking about it in the vein of like, how is DJ Moore not falling? If Rome Odunze is falling, how is DJ Moore not falling? Like, that's kind of wild to me. But, maybe I'm alone on that. I think that's wild. But we'll see. Well, I'm not alone. Tyler agrees, I guess. So there you go. I'm falling behind at running back, which isn't the end of the world. I might do something a little unique here. Definitely unique for me. Not something I particularly like to do too often, but it could work. And since Judkins went, then it's definitely that route. Let's go Sam Laporta. And now I'm done at tight end for sure. Obviously, looking to bring in Jared Goff. So let's do that. Let's even just get rid of the tight end spot. Yeah, I think that sets up nicely. Only way you can get away with this type of build, in my opinion, is if we're doing it this way with 4 wide receivers. That's, in my opinion, kind of the only way. Maybe if I had 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, I suppose you could put that together that way. But if I'm building like an elite tight end type of a build, which is going to be exceptionally rare for me, but if I am, it's in a build like this where it makes sense. And I think it does make sense for this build. On the Candyman stream last night, I said I'm finding it hard to click Rome. Only an injury could change my mind. That's fine. I mean, I disagree. I think Rome, it has potential to be the number 1 wide receiver in that offense this year. I personally really, really like Rome Odunze as a player. I really, really do. He also got voted as like, what would we call it? I guess like the Bears Man of the Year, Walter Payton Awards, sort of an award. Just voted on by the players. For a rookie, mind you, one's a rookie, one's a veteran. He won the rookie award, voted on by the players. So clearly, they really like him. I just think, like, personally, I think that, and I'm not the only one that thinks this. Again, PPR Tyler agrees with me. That's the only one I've found so far that agrees with my take on this. But I think Luther Burden and DJ Moore are more similar than Rome Odunze to either of those two. I think Rome Odunze is like the alpha 1 type of wide receiver. And I think the other two are, obviously DJ Moore can be an alpha number 1 type of wide receiver, but it just depends on the offense that they're in. And for me, I think Rome Odunze is a better fit in Ben Johnson's offense than either of those other 2 like wide receivers. I think that those other 2 wide receivers are more similar to a Jameson Williams type in this Ben Johnson offense, but I could definitely be wrong on that. It's just my take, and I'm sticking to it. Rome Odunze was one of my highest drafted players in the big board because of all of these reasons I've just given, and it's going to continue into Best Ball Mania season. I'm a massive, massive believer and fan and stan of Rome Odunze, and I'm going to continue to be. Steven agrees. That's good. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a quality take. I think it makes sense. Again, I could be wrong, but I'm kind of standing on that. Let's do Caleb Johnson. Let's just get a running back in here. We do have in our next pick, there's going to be door wide open for our final kind of running wide receiver, potentially, not final, but our 5th wide receiver, which will put us in a good spot, or a quarterback. Yeah, let's get our first RB. I think Caleb Johnson is going to be high volume, much like Najee sort of situation. Very, very different runner than Najee, but similar vein. We'll see where that lands. Plus, my wide receiver room's in a good spot. The only like quasi question mark would be Rashee Rice. My tight end spots in it is looking really good. Definitely won't be addressing that at all. But we'll see. We'll see where that ends up. So yeah, that's an ADP faller that I don't agree with whatsoever. Tet rising to where he's rising is not necessarily something I agree with. I get it, first round rookie, but like, how are we saying that the Carolina Panthers offense is like one we need a piece of? We weren't in the big board. So why are we now that Tet's there? I'm not really sure. I'm not so sure Tet's or I'm not so sure Bryce Young is a good quarterback for Tet McMillan. I could be wrong on that, but if he keeps rising, I'm going to be lower than most. We'll see where that lands. Gabe P03. First time I think I've seen you in the chat. How you doing, man? Appreciate you coming in. Hit that like button, guys, if you don't mind. Hit the subscribe button if you're new, if you like the content. Appreciate you guys coming in. Definitely wouldn't mind going wide receiver here because there's a massive tier break after this. But let's bring in Kyler with Trey McBride and then a bring back with Puka. Let's do that and lock in our first quarterback, see where it lands. I think that works. I think that makes sense. Let's do that. Checking my Rome exposure pre-draft, and I have a lot of Rome. I'm loving the Bears offense, so I'll still get a few shares of Rome. Yeah. So what changed between now and the big board? What changed? If people think Luther Burden takes away from Rome Odunze, then I guess then that there you go. But I don't. I really don't think that Rome Odunze and Luther Burden like affect each other at all. I think it's Burden and more. And then we'll see what happens. But do y'all know what thought process went behind drafting players like Bucky and Tyrone Tracy last year? Did they have a lot of buzz during training camp to be the RB2? They both had buzz to be the RB1, actually. I was a massive drafter of Bucky, not a huge drafter of Tyrone Tracy. I did get some shares, but not enough. But I had a massive amount of Bucky. I was a huge Bucky fan. The biggest thing with Bucky is like he was super productive in college. He looked great on tape in college. He had a bit of a slow combine, didn't look great, athletically. But if the guy can produce, the guy can produce. Look at Kyron Williams. And the reality was like we knew if they were bringing in a running back in Tampa Bay, we know how inefficient Rachaad White was, especially as a runner. And that still remains true with Rachaad White. So, and he was going what in the, 14th round or something. Bucky was 13, 12 to 15, something like that. Bucky Irving. And at that point of the draft, like do whatever you want to do, draft whoever you want to draft, get your guys, whoever you like. If you see a path to targets, go that route. There's a few in this draft that we can talk about if we get there. If you have a question about it, let me know. And then with same thing with the Giants, there's really no one when your main competition is Devin Singletary. That's a pretty clean line to targets and carries and touches in that offense. It was just a subpar offense. That was the concern with Tyrone Tracy for me. Plus, he had only played running back for one season. So I had thought my theory was he was still kind of learning the position and he might not get the kind of volume that he did end up getting. So that was kind of a gap on my part and a miss on my part. But again, very high on Bucky. So you do the best you can. Not going to hit 100% of the time, right? So you do the best you can. Where let's just do Jared Goff here. I really would rather not, but this Amon-Ra drafter could take him without a quarterback. So I'm probably going to be set at quarterback and tight end right now. And I'm not going to bring in another Cardinal. I'm just going to leave it Trey McBride and Kyler Murray. So it's looking like a 2-6-8-2 kind of build, most likely. We'll leave it there. Bucky had a lot of buzz because everyone knew how bad a runner Rashad was. Yeah. Rashad White's just super, super inefficient on the ground, super inefficient, which is another reason why I've never liked Joe Mixon, and I still don't like Joe Mixon. As a Bengals fan, I've watched him be inefficient for years and years and years, just get by on volume. So if he does get that volume again, okay, it is what it is, and he probably will, but I'm still not drafting Joe Mixon. Makes sense. So Bucky even had buzz in the RB1 during training camp. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Like we basically what we're doing when we're drafting these running backs that we can, it's basically tell yourself a story that makes sense. If you can tell yourself a story that adds up and is plausible, then you can draft him and feel comfortable about it. Like as long as you have good process, then it is what it is. But it has to be some pretty like not necessarily bulletproof, but it has to be really, really well thought out process. So let's dig into that in a second here on running backs. We'll dig into this. Who could be those types of guys this year? Because there's actually a lot. That's why I'm doing a lot of zero RB, hero RB, dual RB, stuff like that. And I'm taking these running backs at the end of drafts because I think there's a lot of this potential. But I have a large thesis that goes into this whole thought process. So we'll get into that after this pick because it's a good talking point. So Jordan Mason would have been my pick there for sure. It's interesting that Justin Fields is falling. Does it make sense for me to just take him? It might actually. It might actually make sense. Wow. I was not expecting Justin Fields to still be here. I'm going to take him. Might not be the right click, but I'm going to take him. So a guy like Bashal Tutin, let's dig into this conversation. A guy like Bashal Tutin right here is one of my favorite clicks, not only because, so again, let's go back. So the overall thesis is there's more running plays in the NFL right now. There was less overall plays. I think it was 500 roughly. I can't remember exactly. I used to know the exact number. I've said it on stream before. I can't remember exactly, but I think it's 500. There was 500 less offensive plays last year, but there was 500 more running plays last year, right? So teams are running the ball more. Why are they running the ball more? Because defenses have adjusted to a passing first type of an offense. They're playing 70% nickel a lot of times, maybe right around there, 60 to 70% nickel, which means small corners, small safeties, small linebackers, cover type guys on the field. So you run these big body running backs down the gut and you get those 4 yards. Instead of trying to pass for 4 yards, you run for 4 yards and you pick up first downs. So we are seeing that happen. We are seeing teams run the ball more. Then the other part of that is there's almost every backfield in the NFL is 2 running backs minimum. Almost every single run, like I'm not breaking news here. Almost every single running back room in the NFL has at least 2 running backs that they rely on, whether it's a runner and a pass catcher, or they both do the same stuff. Like, Tampa Bay, for instance, Bucky and Rashad White, they both run the ball. They both catch the ball. They both do a little bit of everything. One's more efficient than the other, and they get a little bit more, there's a difference in volume there, right? So that's the number one when we're talking just about running backs in general in the NFL. Okay. So then we look at then we look at, especially when we're talking running backs, we look at their athletic profile. We look at their tape. So I do a lot of tape study, as most of the watchers know. I watch tape on all of these guys. I develop a take, blah, blah, blah. We kind of take it from there. So I build my own rankings. I pay attention to the draft. Then we get draft capital. More draft capital obviously is going to equal more opportunity. So if a running back's drafted in the first round, second round, third round, even fourth round, a lot of times, that's quality draft capital. So they're going to get an opportunity at some point. Then we look at landing spots. And is there an opportunity? So Ramondre Stevenson's right here. He's been falling. I don't think he should be falling this much. That's for sure. But why is he falling? Because Trevion Henderson came in, and he can do a lot of the same stuff as Ramondre, some stuff better, right? Pass catching, potentially pass protection. He can do better than Ramondre Stevenson. So there's a path to him being on the field. There's a lot of running backs down in this area that definitely have a path to being on the field. Who do we want to take right here? I kind of like Mims, but I don't think I'm going to go down that road. Don't want to go Spears with Ridley. Trey Benson's there. I'm going to bring up Ray Davis. So Ray Davis, another example here. Why do I like Ray Davis? I like Ray Davis because James Cook is demanding a new contract. He's demanding an exorbitant amount of money that he's not worth. So if he ends up sitting out, just like his brother did, if he ends up sitting out, that's not a good situation. And Ray Davis being a second-year running back, that's a great situation for him. So Ray Davis can end up being the running back one on this team, if not early, at some point, because then we open the door for injuries for James Cook, which happens a lot when running backs sit out. It just depends on how long they sit out. So there's a lot of, like, I know we're just going down a rabbit hole here, but like there's a lot that goes into it. And all those types of conversations were happening, at least for me, inside my own head, right? And sometimes through the microphone here to the viewers about a guy like Bucky Irving last year. So yeah, there you go. I mean, hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button, tune in, ask questions. We'll talk about these guys throughout the whole summer and keep tabs on everything, coach speak, stuff like that. And injuries, opportunity, blah, blah, blah. There will be a lot of conversations about a lot of these conversations. So hopefully that came close to answering your question. Probably didn't at all. Probably just raised more questions, but that's all right. Tootin and Cam, definitely. Cam Scattaboo, Bashal Tootin, definitely two of those types of running backs that I think are going to have a good opportunity to play some meaningful snaps this year. So with Tootin, again, we also know how inefficient the runners were there last year. Let's do... I don't want to take Benson either. I'd rather not take Jaden Blue here. So let's go Isaac Garendo. Let's do that. So that's a bet, obviously, on CMC not being completely healthy. I love zero RB builds too. The league winners in the last rounds are always RBs like Bucky. Not always, but this year I think they are. So I've actually never been a zero RB bro. I've never been that guy. I've actually been pretty against it, especially last year. I was very against zero RB. I was drafting the shit out of Saquon. I was drafting the shit out of Derrick Henry, right? So I was taking those old dusted veterans that no one else was drafting for God knows why, in my opinion. So I've never really been a zero RB bro, but this year I think it just makes all the sense in the world to be drafting a little bit of zero RB. You take Fields, I'll take Tootin. There we go. So that is MLB. Jamie Robbins, that's right. MLB Syndicate. I got the first name right. You take Tootin. Yeah, that's fair. Tootin was definitely on my list, that's for sure. But if now my quarterback room is in a really good spot. I'm just going to have to sacrifice probably a wide receiver, which is not the end of the world. I can go with 7 wide receivers here and make it work. I am considering Blue for sure. I'm drafting Blue. I'm considering Blue, but I think his price is getting a little outrageous. I don't like to, in this format, in Underdog, in a half-point PPR format, I don't like to draft the pass catching back. I really, really don't. I like to, if it's a back that can get all of the work, I'd rather have that as my backup handcuff sort of thing, like Ray Davis, like Isaac Arendo, like Rashad White, like Trey Benson, like Tyler Algier, like Braylon Allen, right? Those are the types of backs that I would much, much prefer to draft than a Jaden Blue, because they're just getting passing down work. There's not a lot of receiving touchdowns available for running backs. So that's a big concern for me. Benson makes some sense, I guess. I'd really rather not go down that road, if I'm being honest. Algier goes. I'm going to go Rashad White here. So again, he already has this passing down work, which is very, very extensive, but he's going to get all of the work if Bucky should go down. And this is all pretty encouraging as a backup. If he's getting 170 fantasy points, count me in with an out to get all of the work. Let's try that out. So I am considering Blue. I just now that his price is getting where it's at, I'm less likely to be drafting a guy like Jaden Blue. That's for sure. We'll see where his ADP. That's a guy that I'm keeping an eye on. You know, the title going off the title of the episode, I'm keeping an eye on Jaden Blue's ADP because it's getting a little outrageous, and I think that will kind of push me away from drafting him a little bit. I think he should be going around this area, maybe even lower, right around here, 60s to 80s, 160s to 180s, something like that. But we'll see. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, follow along. We'll have these conversations all summer. I tend to think and do things a little differently than other streamers and other drafters. So hopefully people appreciate that. I don't know. Not so much here, but late in the draft would consider Blue. Yeah, definitely late. Like I have drafted him already in this cycle, but it was when I was getting him around the 180 mark, something like that. I could check. We can go back and take a look at where I got him. But in the 140s, like, isn't that where he went? 140 something. Right here, yeah, 143. I'm pretty out on that. There's no chance in the world I'm drafting Jaden Blue over Tyler Algier, over Rashad White, over Isaac Guerrero, even over Trey Benson. Trey Benson just didn't make sense in my build, but I definitely like him. I'm not taking him over any of those running backs. Definitely not, Ray Day, Ramondre. He's like creeping up to where Javonte is. Not that I'm drafting Javonte Williams either, because I'm not, but yeah, it's tough to click. That's for sure. Man, does Adam Thielen make sense for me here? Yuck. I'd really rather not. Let's just do Keenan Allen. If I'm going to take an old, let's take an old that can rise after he signs somewhere. Never going back to that kind of volume, obviously, but he should rise depending on where he goes. I wanted Fields there, but I'll take two. And there you go. Sorry, bro. Shouldn't have pushed him. Why is Rashad Wright not a smash here? He's in range of RB2s, but still gets decent volume. Other RBs seem to have contingent value. He is a smash here for me. I like Rashad White in this range for sure because, yeah, he is already, like I said, he's already getting that passing volume, which is very significant. And then if there's an injury, he gets all the work. So there's already built-in contingent upside to Rashad White, but there's already a pretty large role, like double-digit touchdowns overall are on the table for Rashad White. He had 9 last year. He's on the table again in a high-powered offense. Yeah, I think Rashad White is a smash. It's just like we're making bets about injury down here, like with Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson, Rashad White, Bucky Irving, Isaac Guerrero, CMC, Trey Benson, James Conner, right? We're making bets on injuries down here. So really, I definitely like to hit Rashad White for sure. But I want to even out my exposures. Like I don't want to have like 70% Rashad White, that's for sure. So I want to even it out between all of these backs. But in 0 RB builds, Rashad White is an absolute smash for sure. So, I mean, maybe he's not a smash pick for everybody out there, but he definitely is for me, and sounds like he kind of should be for you. Has there been any word on Keenan at all? Not that I've heard. Not that I've heard, which is definitely a little concerning, but it is what it is. We'll see. I would expect as training camp gets closer, we'll start to hear something. I don't know how I don't take Braylon Allen here, man. I'd really rather not with Fields, but if we're going to make a bit of a bet on that offense, let's take DJ Giddens instead. I just don't like picking Braylon Allen with Justin Fields. Let's go DJ Giddens. Definitely a guy in that vein that could get all of the work if there's an injury to Jonathan Taylor, who has had a crazy amount of touches throughout his NFL career and college career. Tons of touches in college. So that's a massive concern in when we're talking about injuries and longevity in the NFL. So give me DJ Giddens. I'm relatively high on him, higher than most probably if we're talking about a 15th round pick, where he could just get literally all of the work if something should happen to Jonathan Taylor. Might be a bit of a hot take, but I think the gap between Bucky and Rashad is a lot closer than people think. I don't think that's a crazy hot take. Maybe it is, but I don't think that's a crazy hot take. I think it's a little difficult to like. Bucky was just super efficient. Can he continue to be super efficient? There's no reason to think why not. But I mean, there's just a lot of volume. I mean, I'm fine with Bucky, but like Rachaad White had more touchdowns. Like Bucky Irvin had 8 touchdowns last year. Rachaad White had 9. Like that's pretty encouraging. You know, he's just not efficient as a runner. Like that's the concern with Bucky or with Rachaad White. Look at this passing volume though. That's crazy. 50 catches, 64 catches, 51 catches. 2 of these years, he was a backup part-time type of a running back. This year he was, full-time, but super inefficient, right? So that's a huge concern about Rachaad White. I don't know if it's like a vision thing, if he just has a bad feel for holes. I'm not exactly sure what the problem is with Rachaad White, but there's clearly something. But I don't think that's actually a crazy hot take realistically. I really don't, but wow, this team is in trouble in the wide receiver room. Let's do Dontavian Wicks and just lean in that Romeo Doubs gets moved. Oddly enough, I learned the other night that Dontavian Wicks led this team in targets last year with 76, which is kind of wild. Not that I'm really putting much value or credence to that, but it is just a fact. So let's roll with Dobbs gets moved and Wicks can be a guy. I see Jaden Blue as RB2 floor on Cowboys. He could definitely be RB1 with Javonte being so bad. Why not take him over RBs like Benson, Tyler, who would never become team's RB1? They would become the team's RB1 with an injury, right? Even if Javonte Williams is injured or not the RB1, like Jaden Blue is never going to be RB1. He's not going to get all the touches. Jaden Blue is a small, shifty back. He's a passing down type of a back. He's not great in pass pro, so it's really difficult to trust him out there on third downs. So he's just not going to get all of the volume. If something happens to Bijan Robinson or James Conner, Tyler Algier and Trey Benson are getting all of the work. They are walking into that exact same production that those RB1s on the teams had. Jaden Blue is never getting that now, or if there's an injury to Javonte Williams. And I don't like Javonte Williams. I'm not drafting Javonte Williams. I don't think I think the injury just killed his career. Like that was a gruesome, horrible knee injury. And I think that just killed his career, and it is what it is. There's nothing anyone can do about it. That's how she goes. So, yeah, Jaden Blue's just never going to get all the work. He's never going to get all the work ever. So that's the difference. When we're taking like contingent injury upside type guys, Jaden Blue is not in the same. He's really just not in. It's a different conversation. He's not in the same conversation as Benson and Tyler Algier. Again, just as far as getting all the work is concerned. I'm going to bring in Brashard Smith. I still think he's super misvalued, mispriced. I like Brashard Smith a lot. If you like Rashad White, you should like Brashard Smith. And now I'm done at running back, and I'm going to be a little on the fragile side at wide receiver, which is concerning, but it is what it is. I don't particularly love this team, but don't know if I hate it either. What about Corn with the Rams taking Hunter? I like Jarquiz Hunter a ton pre-draft, and I still like him. So I am taking Jarquiz. I guess you could say, yeah, over Corum. I don't really like Corum. I don't like him as a runner. I don't like his athletic profile. I just don't like him as a player, as a prospect. Never did, never have. Didn't like him last year. Don't like him this year. So I'm taking Jarquiz over Corum. And I'm just a massive Jarquiz Hunter guy. If you watch the show on the big board, you know I'm all over Jarquiz Hunter, and I'm not about to change that now. I don't love this wide receiver room, but it is what it is. We're gonna have to make it work. Yeah, kind of yuck. But we're gonna do what we can. What do I think about Komet's ball to last round? I think it's valid. I think it's valid kind of regardless. I do like him. I'm going to take Darius Slayton. That makes me feel a lot better about my wide receiver room. That makes me happy. It is valid. I do think that Komet still gets on the field quite a bit. I think the Bears are going to play a lot of 12 personnel, similar to what they did in Detroit with Brock Wright and Sam Laporta. I think they're going to have a lot of Loveland and Komet on the field at the same time. But he's not going to have, maybe this kind of production, maybe last season's similar type of production. It's not going to go back to the 91 targets, 6 touchdowns, 700 yards sort of production. It just can't. So what's the difference between like a Chigakonkwo and a Cole Kmet, or even a Noah Gray, or potentially a Conklin? There's a few other guys down here. Some of the guys who just went, Jawan Johnson. What's the difference between those guys and Cole Kmet at this point? I think Cole Kmet has a lot more real life value than he does fantasy right now. Even Terrence Ferguson could be a better click potentially. Arroyo could be a better click. At least it's the mystery box. It could even be Cole Kmet sort of thing. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's valid. It makes sense. I guess if you need like a stack option in the 18th now, in the 18th round with Chicago, or maybe a bring back or something, which would be tougher to take him as a bring back. But if you want to go down that road, sure. But if you need a stack option for Chicago and Cole Kmet's your last option, I think you could do a lot worse, but you certainly could do a lot better. It is valid. It does make sense, in my opinion. Jarquiz is probably the RB2, picking him round 4. Should they already give up on Corum? I think so too. I just don't believe in Blake Corum as a football player. Realistically, I don't really like him as a football player. I love Jarquiz Hunter as a football player. So that's my big difference. We ended with the 3-6-7-2. Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, Justin Fields. Justin Fields wasn't exactly necessary, but 13 picks past ADP for Justin Fields is too difficult for me to pass on. So I think that'll work, and that'll definitely get us ahead of most quarterback rooms in this field. Caleb Johnson, Ray Davis, Garendo, Rashad White, DJ Giddens, and Brashard Smith. I actually quite like this room a lot. I think that this will definitely work. I like that room a lot. Makes sense. Puka Nacua, Rasheed Rice, Jameson Williams, Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, Dontavion Wicks, Darius Slayton. The Darius Slayton click really helped out this wide receiver room, and now I don't think it's as bad. As long as Keenan gets a decent landing spot, then this could really be in a good place. Hopefully Wicks ends up being a good, selection there. Trey McBride and Sam Laporta, that definitely obviously works. So quarterback, running back, tight end are all in a quite good spot. Wide receiver is not bad. It's just a little thin. I would have rathered, I guess like it is what it is on Justin Fields. And hopefully that puts me, ahead of some other teams and gets this team to advance in the 2-12. So we'll see. Let's rip another one. Let's get into a puppy 30-second draft clock. We are waiting for 9. If you're in the chat and you want to draft, jump in. If you're just popping in, hit that like button if you don't mind. Smack the like. If you're new to the contest, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, hit the subscribe button. We're just getting started. Hot Best Ball summer, 10 days away from scheduled drop. We're going to have a big fun stream on scheduled drop day, Wednesday, the 14th. That'll be fun. We'll talk through all of the matchups, week 17 matchups, the rest of the playoff matchups, things like that. And then we can start drafting like crazy after that. I'll get back into BBM streets personally, and we'll kind of take it from there. I click commit with Caleb when I could use another tight end late. Yeah, that's exactly like the way to do it. If you need a stack option, I think you do a lot worse than commit. Like he's still going to have value. Again, he's definitely more valuable in real life football than he is in fantasy, but I'm pretty sure him and Caleb Williams are like best friends. They hang out all the time. You see posts with them hanging out at games and this, that, and the other thing. Komet's always talking about it. There's a lot of talk about how close they are, which is really encouraging if you're a Komet guy or, stacking the Bears, things like that. So I think you could do a lot less or a lot worse, I should say, than Cole Komet. And yeah, like when it makes sense, like in that environment with Caleb Williams, then it makes tons of sense. But if you're not, like if you're just taking a naked tight end, then I do not think it makes any sense to take Cole Komet. Because again, Juwan Johnson's right there. He's definitely a smash for me in the 18th round. And what's the difference between Chig and Cole Komet? To me, not a crazy amount. Dalton Schultz and Cole Komet, not a crazy amount realistically. And then there's like the mystery box guys. Like again, Elijah Arroyo. Where'd Terrence Ferguson go? T Ferg, him as well. There we go. Terrence Ferguson as well. And I still think there's value in Noah Gray. Like, I don't really know why he's been pushed out of being drafted most times. In the 20th round, if I need a tight end, I'll take Noah Gray. So people like Tyler Conklin, that's fine. I don't mind Tyler Conklin. This is a pretty nice profile right here. New team, new offense, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see how that goes. Tyler Higbee got some positive coach speak today. Yeah. Gunnar Helm could be the actual tight end in this offense behind Chig, playing like a big slot type of a role. We might have to go to a 20-second clock, peeps. This takes a little bit too long to fill. We'll get out of here and jump into a 20-second clock. Yeah, let's do that. If you're in the draft, we're going to jump out. We're going to jump into a 20-second clock. Don't want to sit here waiting for this to fill. Back to the puppy. 20-second clock. And we're waiting on one. So we got to be a little more on our P's and Q's when we only got 20 seconds to pick. Sitting in the 10 spot. Don't think anyone's in the draft. Wow. That doesn't happen very often. I'll take that. I will take that, EV. Respect the steam, hey? Okay. If you're in the chat and you're drafting, let me know. But I don't think I know anybody in here. Might have drafted with some of these guys, but I don't think I know anybody in here. So who else is rising, falling ADP wise? Let's go to the ranks, and that'll help kind of. Genty, yeah, we talked about a little bit. Bowers is pulling back, which is good to see. That's good to see. I think he should pull back a little bit. Not that he's a bad click. I just think he should pull back a little bit and get closer to Trey McBride. AJ Brown's holding strong, which is a little wild to me personally. Not a lot of movement. Wow, Marvin Harrison is certainly kind of flying up the board. I was ahead of ADP when I did this ranking. Not that these rankings mean anything right now, because they definitely don't, but I was ahead of ADP when I did these rankings. Now I'm behind. That's interesting. So Marv is flying up the board a little bit. That's interesting. DJ Morse is falling, which is good. He should be. That's good to see. Chase Brown is flying up, which I don't agree with. Devontae's kind of flying up the board. Gibbs at 7 is free money. That's amazing. Let's go Neighbors. Bringing Malik Neighbors here. See if I can get some falling value to me, which is going to get a less and less likely. Amon-Ra, Drake London. I like that start. I do it a lot. Nice. I'm definitely going to take McCaffrey here. Let's do that. So CMC and Malik Neighbors start. I like that. Now I got my anchor RB. So we'll see who falls to me in the second round here. Let's go back and take a look at some of these rankings. Yeah, Devontae Adams is kind of flying up the board a little bit. That's interesting. I really don't like Matt Stafford in fantasy, and I don't really like him in this format. So it's pretty wild to have two pass catchers in this offense in the top 32 and the running back as well. It's a lot of volume, a lot of mouths to feed. My opinion on Eckler seems to be the only running back in his range with not just contingent upside. I think that Deebo Samuel is going to run the ball a lot more with them not bringing in a running back option, like a quality running back option. Yes, they brought in, 7th round Jacoby Krosky Merritt, but that's really not an option to take away from even Jeremy McNichols, in my opinion. So Jeremy McNichols, Chris Rodriguez is still there as well. I think Deebo Samuel runs the ball a lot more in this offense than maybe some people are projecting. In the big board, I had a tough time clicking Deebo Samuel at his ADP. Now that I know what I know and we have all the information on this offense, I don't mind clicking Deebo Samuel whatsoever at ADP. I think it makes a lot more sense now than it did then. So that's definitely something I don't mind doing. And then we get the Jamar Chase, Harrison, McBride. Is that something that's going on a lot? And that's why Harrison's rising? Interesting. But I don't mind Eckler. Like, Anthony Lynn is still there as former head coach, running back coach for the Commanders now. He's just getting a little long in the tooth. He's not a massive guy. He's not a big guy. And he's had a lot of touches in his career. So he kind of fell apart a little bit, last year. And I think that could continue certainly as we head into this season. But yeah, I mean, he's a fine click. I just don't click him a crazy amount personally. BBG, you guys just wrap up. Good to see you, brother. Caught a little bit of the show. Go subscribe to BBG if you're not. If you're not subscribed to Best Ball Guy for some reason, go subscribe to BBG over there. Very quality content. daily. Let's just do Josh Allen because I'm not getting enough right now. I just want to make sure to get some Josh Allen here. I really don't. I wanted to go Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, but I got to respect this guy's steam. Evans goes. Weird spot. It's a weird spot. But we're gonna go with either one of these two. Probably like this. Yeah, let's go with Worthy. Let's go with Worthy over DJ Moore. Your concerns with Debo getting carry seems to hurt B-Rob more than Eckler, to be honest. I think it hurts both of them. I think it hurts both Brian Robinson and Eckler. Like, yeah, Eckler gets a little bit of the passing down work, but there's not a crazy amount of passing down work there for a running back in that offense, in my opinion. What did he do last year for catches? 35, plus he was injured a bunch. 0 touchdowns, though. Yeah, I just don't think there's going to be enough there for Eckler. Like, I really don't. I just, his age and the amount of carries he's had throughout his career, like, he's a fine click, but I'm not doing it a crazy amount. I just don't like to take a small aging running back that, isn't set for a whole lot of volume. So I'm not necessarily out on Eckler. I just think there's a time and a place, and I might end up with like maybe 4%. Like, it depends on how much volume you do. That's part of the conversation too. I do a lot of volume. So I'll probably only end up with like 4% Eckler, which equals, I don't know, 30 total drafts, maybe something like that. I don't know. So I won't be taking a crazy amount of Eckler personally. Yeah, hit that like button, guys. Fantasy Dog, appreciate you coming in. BBG, hey, come for the singing. Appreciate you guys. A little vino, little Pinot Noir. This was my wedding wine, my wedding red. Very good. Very good wine. What are we doing here? Definitely want to look probably wide receiver first and foremost, but if I get boxed into taking a running back, I will. Waddle could make some sense for me here. And there he goes. Henderson can make some sense for me here. I mean, if Kittle's still there, that's some nice value and just kind of bet. I don't mind making that bet on the San Francisco 49ers offense with the running back and the tight end. So that could really work. And I've got another pick coming up shortly, so I can take one of the, oh, there was Kittle, so I don't need to worry about that, I guess. Let's bring in Olave because there's a lot of running backs here I can take. So let's get Olave, who could have, as long as he gets a catchable ball thrown his way, could have himself a really solid season. I think it's a little bit of a tier break after Olave, personally. And again, there's, the very least 3 running backs I would easily click here. Not that I love RJ Harvey's price, so it would be in this order. It's pretty hard to take, Harvey over Kamara, but I don't want Kamara with Olave in this build. Kenny Walker, I was massively high on, and he could have been on the board, but there he goes. I do like Judkins. I mean, taking Judkins over Harvey, I think, is completely fine and defensible. So let's do that. I like Judkins a lot. Or do I just want to get some exposure? I have a lot of exposure to Judkins. Do I just want to get a couple picks past ADP of Harvey? Sure, let's do it. Just because, let's do it. Close my eyes, click the button. Sometimes you kind of have to. If you want to get some exposure to these guys, I really don't like the price with Harvey. I'd much rather Judkins personally. Kamara as well, but Kamara doesn't make sense for my build with Olave. If I didn't have Olave on my team, then it's Kamara 100%. Yeah, I think it's tough to click Harvey at this cost, but I remember you were saying you were higher on Terrence Ferguson than Fannin, Mason, Taylor, and Arroyo. Are you happy with his landing spot? Do you think he gets any meaningful playing time? I was higher on him than. Do you mean Mason Taylor there? Like that's two names. I was higher on him than. Actually, I had him ranked just behind Fannin as far as my rankings are concerned. But as far as athletic profile, yeah, I had Ferguson ahead of Fannin. I ended up with more exposure to Fannin than I did Ferguson, but I had more exposure than most people in the big board to Terrence Ferguson, that's for sure. And Mason, do you mean Mason Taylor there and Arroyo? I do have him higher than Arroyo, and I think he's in a better spot than Arroyo personally. I am happy with his landing spot. I think that's a great landing spot. That was their first draft pick in the draft was Terrence Ferguson. And we know last year that they wanted to trade up for Brock Bowers. So I think that's pretty damning. Mind you, there was some good coach speak about Tyler Higbee today, but Higbee's getting older. He's had a lot of injuries recently, especially a really bad one, torn ACL, that he might have come back too fast because he hurt himself again in the playoffs a little bit. So there could be some concern with Higbee's, health as we get into the season. And yeah, give me the mystery box of Terrence Ferguson over Tyler Higbee, and ADP agrees with me on that one. And I do think he gets some meaningful playing time. Like we saw Davis Allen out there on the field. We saw Colby Parkinson out there for them, with Higbee as well when he did come back. But yeah, they don't typically draft players that high to not play them. So, and the Rams and McVay and Les Snead are not afraid to play rookies. We know that for a fact. So, yeah, I like Terrence Ferguson a lot still. I mean, mind you, he's still an 18th round pick. So, number one, I'm not taking a crazy amount of Terrence Ferguson. Number two, it's an 18th round pick. Number three, I'm only taking him in 3 tight end builds. So, yeah, there's a lot more to the conversation than just like and don't like. It's a lot more nuanced than that, but there's my spiel for you. Khalil Shakir, that's an easy click. Let's go there. And that is probably one of these wide receivers. Most likely one of these wide receivers. Okay, you mean one player? Yeah. Yeah, we like him. Yeah, exactly. Like the heir apparent might be right now, right? Like that's what I'm thinking is like, yeah, once Higbee moves on, he could be his heir apparent. The heir apparent might be this season. Like, they could not be lying. They're just, I don't know, talking out the side of their mouth. I don't know how you want to word it, but yeah. It could be right now that he kind of takes over. Yeah, of course, man. No problems. No problems. What's wrong with Olave with Kamara on this build? I don't like the offense enough to bet on 2 Saints players on the same team unstacked. And I'm never taking the quarterback with New Orleans, whether it's Carr, whether it's Shuck, I don't care. I'm not taking the quarterback in New Orleans. Most likely, I guess if I get backdoored into it for some crazy reason, maybe I would, but I highly doubt I end up taking the quarterback ever for the New Orleans Saints. So I can take one of a high volume, wide receiver, which should be a high volume wide receiver, the number 1 wide receiver on this team, and it's not even in the same stratosphere. And they're going to be a bad team. This Saints defense might be the worst defense in the NFL this year. They're making a massive transition from a big body end type, big bodies up front, somewhat of a Tampa 2 type defense, 4-3 base type of defense to a 3-4 outside linebacker, edge rusher type of a defense. They're going to struggle. they're going to struggle on defense. Plus, they lost Lattimore. They lost Paulson Adebo as well. So 2 guys on the back end. So not only do they have nobody to play on the front end of this defense, they have nobody to play on the back end of this defense. So it's going to be bad. So give me the pass catching options that I like. And that's both Olave and Kamara. But I don't want them on the same team because I don't believe in the offense as a whole enough to buy into both of those players, especially when they're both, 5th round picks? Yeah. They're both 4th, 5th round picks, or sorry, 5th, 6th round picks, sort of, right? I'm not sinking that kind of capital into 2 New Orleans Saints players. That's for sure. Again, if they were stack options, like, I don't know, or even unstacked, like again, what was I going to do? The 49ers, if I did Kittle and Christian McCaffrey unstacked, absolutely. I believe in that offense. And they're not taking away from each other. It's not a tight end and a wide receiver or 2 wide receivers. It's a running back and a tight end, that sort of situation. So yeah, hopefully that kind of answers the question. That's at least just my opinion on it. Disagree if you like, and draft accordingly. All right. What are we doing here? Definitely don't need quarterback. That's for sure. Could go running back. Jordan Mason goes. Okay. Let's get a share of. Actually, let's go Zach Charbonnet here. Yeah, let's go Zach Charbonnet here. If you're going Trey Harris here without a quarterback, you should probably bring in Herbert right here. No quarterback yet. At least that's what I would do. We'll see what he ends up doing. This guy's fallen behind at wide receiver almost on purpose. That's risky. And he does take Herbert. Well done. That is a smart click. Let's bring in Keon Coleman. Double stack now my Buffalo with Josh Allen. Yeah, don't mind what I'm doing here. I do have to think about my QB2. At least just have it in the back of my mind for the next couple rounds. I've been saying all draft cycles so far that I want to be done drafting quarterbacks, whether that's 2 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks, whatever. I want to be done my quarterback room by Tua. That's the latest that I want to go. If, it will happen at some point throughout the summer. Well, I will dip into these Cam Wards, Bryce Youngs, Matt Stafford, Geno Smith, Darnold for sure. Like, I'll dip into these guys at some point. But right now, I just don't think it's worth it or makes sense to be drafting these guys. I really, really don't. So quarterback has to be on my mind in the next couple picks. It's not a huge concern, but it definitely has to be in the back of my head. That's just the way that I'm building. Pretty firm rule for me right now as far as drafting, construction, and especially talking about the quarterback room. Pretty firm rule. If you're just popping in, hit the like button for me. Hit the subscribe button if you like the content. I'm excited to keep drafting. I'm really excited for the schedule to drop. It's really annoying to sit here and not know these matchups and have to kind of take it easy on my drafting. Like, for some of us volume drafters that like to draft a few times a day, potentially multi-table, whatever. I'm kind of just sitting on my hands right now. Like I've only got 15 drafts in the books. That's sad. And 7 weekly winners. That's sad for me. Ended up with 257 in the big board season, the early draft cycle. We got one Best Ball Mania slow going, trying to make it as slow as possible personally. The guys in the draft with me are probably annoyed. I'm literally taking the clock all the way down and then either picking or auto drafting. So it's I'm sure that the guys in my draft room are pretty annoyed with me, I'd imagine. So sorry about it, but that's just how she's gonna go. I gotta go Kyle Williams here because he's my guy. He's my dude. So let's go Kyle Williams. Pairs up with the Buffalo side as well. And I'm looking pretty good at wide receiver, so I can kind of steer away from that direction right now. Let's see what the 12 spot does here. You really shouldn't. But there's almost too many clicks that I want right here. Let's do Kincaid and kind of super stack our Buffalo. Get our first tight end. Let's try that. Love talking to you. Gonna head out. Awesome, man. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. If you're new, hit subscribe. I think it's the first I've seen you in the channel. Hit subscribe. We'll be drafting all summer. Appreciate you coming in. Yeah, no BBM for me until schedule drop, but I've been hitting a lot of the smaller attorneys. Definitely. Me too. I did 10 of the BBM before the schedule drop. And then I'm kind of like I said, with that slow, I'm just like pushing it as long as I can. And it's been working so far. I think I'm like 4 picks in. But we'll see. Beyond that, I'm not doing another BBM until the schedule is released for sure. So I did want to get a little bit of, early value before some of the rising happened. And I think I did a pretty good job of that personally, but we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I'm definitely not touching it until the schedule. Little Miss Brady, what's happening, man? Appreciate you coming in. I'm excited for excited to start drafting eliminators once the schedule drop. Me too. Yeah, that's going to be hot and heavy. Like it's pretty hard to fill a room right now, but as soon as the schedule drops, it's going to be awesome. Mind you, I'm only going to probably do I might do 50 or something like that of that. I'm not going to max it, that's for sure. Also on drafters, a good amount, that's for sure. I'm not on drafters personally. I am exclusive on Underdog just because I don't need to draft anywhere else. As far as getting more action, you don't need it anywhere else. Plus, I don't love the drafters season long type of thing. I just don't. Since schedule doesn't matter there. Absolutely. As far as big money best ball tournaments, the schedule release might be the most important off-season event. It's right there with the draft. The draft is extremely important, as for sure. Extremely. And then the schedule release is a pretty massive milestone, that's for sure. So it's going to be a big day, big episode on that day as well. Putt Daddy, anxious to dip my toe in the eliminator pool. Just one of you guys can't get a draft going. Was looking forward to the takes since they changed the format. No one should be drafting. I was shocked that that Candyman wanted to do that because you shouldn't be drafting that format before the schedule released for sure. So it's not a surprise whatsoever that no one's filling these rooms. It's not a surprise to me. I'm not drafting any until the schedule's released. And I know I'm not, the only one doing that. I know I'm not in the minority there. Man, Kyle Pitts goes. That's a little sad. I'm still going to take Penix. My hope was to get Penix and Pitts here, but I had to take Penix first regardless. So, Pitts would have had to have fallen even more. But you never know. That's what I was going to try to do. But I'll take Penix as my quarterback 2. That was the last kind of available quarterback for me anyways. And I pair him up with Mooney, which doesn't really matter. That's why I wanted to do this super stack Buffalo with, New England bring back. I might look at like a Braylon Allen or something as another bring back. Yeah, that was kind of my thought process there and why I went down that road. Algier, I could go Algier here, but even if he is getting all the work, he's not getting a ton of catches. Let's bring in Braylon just as like a Buffalo bring back potential. Let's do that. Yeah, let's go down that road. Honestly, probably waiting until the end of the offseason to cram eliminators. That's fine, especially with injuries, right? I'm sure that's your take, is like you want to know who's injured, which is not a bad take, honestly. Like the ADPs will be different than BBM. Like obviously there'll be different rankings, there'll be different ADPs, there'll be different strategies than BBM. So it's honestly not the worst strategy at all. It's not a bad strategy at all in that tournament where you need your players to be on the field. So yeah, honestly, that might actually make me think twice about drafting a crazy amount of those early, talking through it. At least that's my take. I'm not sure that was your take and what you're getting at, but like, yeah, that's what made me think of that. Like you need these players to be on the field. So you might, I actually might push me to wait to draft eliminators until the entire offseason's over, preseason's over, and just cram them in. I don't mind that. I don't mind that take. That might be my direction as well, actually. You can't have zeros. You really can't. Like in that eliminator structure, you got to have guys scoring points. So, yeah. Not sure that's what you're getting at, Limas Brady, but that's what I'm taking out of that. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got out of that, thinking about it. You're not wrong. They have to score points. They have to be on the field. There's a whole offseason, a whole training camp, bunch of preseason games. There's going to be injuries. You can't have those injuries on those teams. You really can't. So there might be some shifts in ADP, but like, honestly, who cares? Realistically, like, it really doesn't completely matter at all. Let's do Giddens. No, let's do K. Dotton. Pairs up with my Atlanta, and I need a tight end. And my Atlanta, New Orleans. Yeah, that works with Tampa Bay. That's really nice. I wouldn't mind Mason Taylor here. Even though I have Braylon, that's fine in this type of a build. I think that makes more sense. And I might just do that. This guy should probably take him. I would take Mason Taylor in this build when I have Justin Fields. With those two tight ends, I would absolutely take Mason Taylor here. But if he doesn't, I guess I will. Because I am going to take 3 tight ends kind of regardless. I guess I could be okay with 2 here. But I'd probably rather not. He doesn't take Taylor, so I will. Now I'm done at tight end, obviously. Eliminator was the first underdog draft I ever did last summer. I was clueless, made it through 4 weeks. Well, it was different. It was different structure last year. Last year it was like, what was it? Was it 50-50 every week? I'm not sure. I can't remember, but it was like 12 team pods. This year it's 1 of 2. Your heads up. After the first week, 6 of 12 advance after the first week. And then after that, it's 1 of 2, 1 of 2, 1 of 2, 1 of 2, 1 of 2. It's a 50-50 thing. So you don't have to beat a whole bunch of other teams. You just have to beat the team across from you, right? So it's a different structure than it was last year. But a funner, in my opinion, a funner structure. And I think the rest of the community in general agrees. And it seems like there's a lot of excitement around this this structure where it's 1 of 2 and you're just straight up heads up with the other team. And it could make for some fun content potentially between, some streamers end up, facing each other heads up. It'll be pretty fun. I'm excited for it, but I'm not going to max it still. But talking through it here, just comment there from Little Miss Brady. Like I think I'm going to wait as well. You just can't be taking zeros. You really can't. I will play some, but near the end of summer. Yeah. I think we're all in agreement on that one now. I guess it depends on how many you do. If you're maxing the thing, then yes, do some now. Do some time box type of stuff. But if you're only doing like 25, 50, if you're only doing 5, 10, do them at the end of the summer. I'm probably going to get up to like 50, so I might do, opening of training camp and then start and just slowly pick away, and then after everything's kind of wrapped up, just power draft it a little bit. That might be what I do. But we'll see. See how that works out. I'm just going to take Brashard Smith again. He's going to probably be my most drafted player, I think. How many picks? One more pick? Yeah. Am I done at wide receiver? I think I am. Yeah, I'm going to be done at wide receiver. I'm going to take another running back. I'm going to take another running back, and it is going to be Marshawn Lloyd. There we go. There's the team. Don't have to go over any other teams. We ended up with a 2-6-7-3 build. Josh Allen, Michael Penix. I definitely like that. That works. Great capital distribution here. Got a 10 pick slide on Penix, which I expected with the Drake London drafter to my right. So I figured he would fall. He did. That works. That's excellent draft capital, distribution for my quarterback room. I like that. Christian McCaffrey, RJ Harvey, Zach Charbonnet, Braylon Allen, Brashard Smith, and Marshawn Lloyd. I really like this room. I think it works. I think it makes sense. I'm happy with that as long as Christian McCaffrey is healthy. Malik Neighbors, Xavier Worthy, Chris Olave, Khalil Shakir, Darnell Mooney, Keon Coleman, Kyle Williams, one of my favorites. I love this room. I think it works a ton. I like that a lot. Dalton Kincaid, Cade Otton, and Mason Taylor. I really like that room. I like this team quite a bit more than my first one, so I definitely dig it. Got some bringbacks. Got the super stack Buffalo bringback. Got bringbacks with Olave and Cade Otton for my Falcons. I like that. Nice team, nice build. Well done. I dig it. Good team. I agree. I think so too. The Roll 07. Appreciate you coming in, man. Thinking it's the first time that I've seen you in. We're about to wrap up. So hit that like button if you don't mind, guys, on your way out. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel and you like the content. We'll be drafting all summer. We'll be ripping a few more streams and before the schedule drop. We got 10 days until the NFL schedule gets released, and then we'll have a big episode that night. So Wednesday, May 14th, we'll have a big episode on this channel. Bunch of guests, all the friends and family, all the regulars. We'll be chatting through the Week 17 matchups, the playoff matchups, all that kind of stuff. Definitely be a fun episode. Definitely be must-watch TV, if I'm being honest. That'll be a big, very informative episode. So I would definitely come in and check that out. But beyond that, we're going to get out of here. Like I always say on Off the Schneid, if you're afraid to be wrong, you'll never be right. Hopefully tonight we were right. We Bink the Puppy. We'll see you guys next time. Have yourselves a